And, and consequently, we have, because we choose what we spend money on carefully, as everyone does, well, we spend money on a season ticket for both of us for the Popejoy, for the Broadway series. And the only problem we have is my ability not to sing. Because I grew up with Broadway musicals, and I'm not saying that I know every lyric to every song, but I know enough to get me in trouble. And so, you know, if it's a song I know that Joseph's playing, and I jump up and grab the mic. Well, I am. I'm a happy girl. So good morning, everyone. Good morning. I am so overjoyed, really, to see you all this morning and to welcome you on this beautiful Santa Fe day, and to invite you to take in the wonder that surrounds us, and not to miss a moment of the beauty. You know, yesterday, if any of you were out and about, you saw that the mountains were just covered with snow. And of course, today, they're covered with less snow. Or they're not covered with snow. But it doesn't matter. It's so beautiful. It's just so beautiful. And of course, that snow represents moisture in New Mexico, and for every drop of moisture, we are grateful. Yes. So, Jean gave you a clue about today's topic. And if you looked at your newsletter, and hopefully now you're getting it now that we have changed platforms. So if you're still not getting it, please put yourself on the list and we'll make sure that you get it. So we're wrapping up, we're putting a bow on the theme of true love, which is what we've been talking about all February. And today we're talking about not only self-love, but radical self-love. And I was reminded by something that Denise and I were reading as part of our spiritual time in the morning a few days ago, that the root meaning of radical is root. So if we don't think that self-love is important, we aren't taking care of our roots. We aren't taking care of what grounds us, of what nurtures us. Now, it so happens, quite inadvertently, I'm sure, that sometimes we get very caught up in what we think someone else needs. I'm sure that it's inadvertent. We don't mean to get so caught up in what we think someone else needs, but we might do that. And what can happen while we're being so caught up in what someone else needs? Well, we think we're being helpful, and we think we're being supportive, and we may truly be being those things. We can forget about loving ourselves, about caring for ourselves. I read a very powerful statement in the class material that is the class that I'm currently teaching. And it was from a book that was new to me about our bodies are not an apology. And the statement was, without radical self-love, there is no other love. There is no world love. There is no love. Because without radical self-love, what we're really saying in essence is that, oh, we're good. You know, we're okay. We don't need self-love because we're good. We'll just focus all of our attention on others. Now, I may be the only one in the room who got a very clear childhood message about selfishness and about any attention that I put on myself being selfish. But in case I'm not the only one in the room or the only one, hi, online, hi Zoom, hi Facebook. In case I'm not the only one who got that message intentionally or inadvertently, because that message at our house was kind of just in the air, you know, it was modeled. And so it can be confusing. And in fact, it comes up in many classes that I teach. Well, isn't self-love selfish? Quite the contrary. Self-love is the most necessary, important, valuable gift we give ourselves. Because what we're doing when we love ourselves, when we care for ourselves, when we rest when we need rest, when we take time to just be, whatever it is that we can do that feels self-loving, or not do that feels self-loving, we're refilling the tanks. We are a well of love, but we become an empty well if we don't love ourselves, if we don't prioritize, loving ourselves. If we don't prioritize doing things that just because we think they're fun. Doing things just because they give us pleasure. Doing nothing because it gives us pleasure. I had this very interesting conversation with someone the other day about naps. Because she's not a fan of naps. And she said so pretty sternly, like that. And I said, how can you not be a fan of naps? Naps are delicious. But it was clear to me, the more we were talking, that this was an early patterning idea, because naps were a waste of time. one of the things that my mother did really, really well was nap. And she taught me the value of naps. She would say to me, and I can remember being pretty little, and her saying to me, "I'll be back in 20 minutes. I'm going to take a nap." And sure enough, boom, you could set the clock by it. 20 minutes later, she was back. Now, mind you, I was old enough to be playing by myself or doing whatever I was doing, so she wasn't just abandoning me for 20 minutes, although that might have happened too. But that probably happened, it wasn't abandonment. I was taking a nap, and so she took a nap, which I think is brilliant. Self-love. Self-love to the point where we can feel the difference is what I'm talking about. Is what Spirit through me this morning is tasking you with. Is self-love to the point where you can feel the difference. Where you can feel yourself being in awe. Do you know being in awe takes time? Because we have to be paying close enough attention. We have to be available to the awe-filled moment. To whatever it is that we see, whatever it is we hear, whatever it is we experience, that just fills us and opens us with that feeling of awe. Awe takes time. Self-love takes time. Now, don't get the heebie-jeebies. It's all right. That's what I'm trying to say. Not only is it all right, it is necessary. It is necessary for our full well-being. To be self-loving and to consciously make self-loving choices. Consciously make self-loving choices. Okay, so the choice is and it may be this simple. I do laundry today because I have some free time. Or I watch the Olympics. Now, many of you don't know that Denise and I are Olympic groupies. So watching the Olympics, even if it's a sport that we couldn't possibly begin to understand, it doesn't matter. We love the energy of the Olympics. We love what they represent, and we can't get enough. You know, there was a comment in something that we were watching last night where this commentator said, "We have around-the-clock coverage." And I said, "Oh, that's not good." Because I could be one of those people. I really couldn't, because I can't keep my eyes open. Really. But I'd like to think I could be one of those people. That's a self-loving choice. Now, do I still need to do the laundry? Sure. But I don't have to do it today. Will the laundry still be there?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, every time. Just waiting. Self-loving choices can be as simple as doing or not doing an errand, taking a certain route to go somewhere that may be a little longer, but far more beautiful. Not going somewhere when the winds are high and there's snow and rain and sleet, like I drove into Bernalillo the other day. I would have gone anyway because I knew it wasn't severe, it wasn't dangerous, and I was able to be safe and take my time, which is also a self-loving choice. See how simple it is? Take my time. Take my time. I'm asking us, Spirit's asking us, to be mindful of the opportunities to make a self-loving choice where we otherwise might not. Not that we're making a choice that would be self-damaging in any way. It's not that. It's an automatic pilot choice. A self-loving choice versus an automatic pilot choice. A self-loving choice that just slows things down a little bit, rather than always being in the go mode and having to get there as fast as possible. Self-loving choices fill us. They feel good. Choices that are automatic pilot choices, that are just our old way of being, they don't necessarily have a feeling one way or the other in the moment. But by the time we get to the end of our day, we're exhausted. There is someone in this room today who has been tremendously helpful to a neighbor that really needed support, that was really going through a difficult time. But that support got to the point where the person who was being helpful to the neighbor was getting sick. They weren't feeling well. Their energy wasn't sustainable in the way that it would normally be. And it took a while for the person who was being helpful to the neighbor to realize it wasn't the neighbor's fault. It wasn't anybody's fault. This is not a matter of fault. It's a matter of recognizing when we are putting out more than we're putting in. We aren't taking quiet time. We aren't taking time to do the things that give us joy. We aren't taking time to call a friend because we're too busy. So your homework for this week is very simple. Because if we stop and think about the price of sacrificing our self-love choices, of sacrificing our self-love care, if we stop and think about the price that we might pay one way or another for that sacrifice, let's make a different choice. Let's make a clear and happy choice. It's not like, oh God, yeah, and Reverend Ann said, I have to make a self-loving choice. No. It's a happy choice. It's a sweet choice. It's a loving choice. It's a feel-good choice. Because then we give anyway. In Jean's, both her invocation and her reading today, she spoke of giving of ourselves and giving of our light. Well, the quality of our giving is diminished proportionately diminished. And my physicist is sitting right there. Proportionately diminished by the self-love that we give ourselves and the self-support that we offer ourselves and the choices that we make for ourselves, like coming to the concert on Wednesday, versus the sacrifice. Now, many of us grew up with the idea that sacrifice, that I can see you frowning, Laurel, that whether it was from the people of influence in our life or the faith tradition that we practiced or our parents may have practiced, that sacrifice was the way to go. Because if you weren't sacrificing, then you were doing it wrong. Self-love is not the thing to sacrifice because it benefits no one. In fact, it lessens and lessens and lessens and diminishes and diminishes and diminishes our capacity to be of help or love to anyone else. It dims our light. So, just to give you one last zinger, it so diminishes our light that we're really not being of service to anyone. Remember, please, because I think it's so powerful, the quote that I read in our class material this week. Without radical self-love, there is no love of other. There is no world love. There is no love at all. And so it is.